I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
If you pick your newborn up or your baby up when they're crying, you're going to spoil that baby. Also, you don't necessarily need to co-sleep with your baby or cuddle them too much, and you should let them cry it out to learn to sleep and comfort your baby himself or herself. These are some of the myths that some new moms are still getting. And that's just what they are. They're myths. When your baby communicates with you the only way he or she knows, by crying, you need to answer that call. Because your baby, especially when they're brand new, they don't know anybody. They're looking for comfort, and they need to know that you're always going to be there to attend their needs. And these are some of the things that we, especially in the Black community, have to really start talking about and educating our next generation to care about their babies. We are so used to being tough on our kids. We want them to be strong. But the first thing they need to be is nurtured. They need to know that mom and dad or whomever the caregiver is always going to be there to answer when they call. Maybe they're hungry. Maybe they're hurt. Maybe they just need to know that they're not by themselves. And when people tell you that you're going to spoil your baby, well, let me tell you something. You can't spoil a baby by loving and caring for your baby. And these are some of the things we want to talk about today. We want to talk about some of those old time things about not picking up your baby too much. And we also know, and studies show, that baby girls are nurtured more than baby boys. They're cuddled more, they're responded to more. And while we're at it, let's also talk about that whole nonsense that contributes to toxic masculinity by telling little boys that they shouldn't cry. Let's stop telling our children that they don't have a right to their emotions. So, Naima, what were some of the things you were told when Zakiya was born?
Well, I tell you, I'm grateful that I had done some research and just reviewed a lot of things, because I was also told, don't respond to the baby when they cry. They're going to be spoiled. And or if they're crying, they need to just cry it out. And I'm glad that at some point my instincts kicked in. I said, no, you don't do that to a child. And it took me maybe the first couple of months to kind of sift through a lot of the old myths and just really use my instinct and realize a lot of the things that we have been taught come from that old slave time belief that you got to toughen up your child by not showing them any affection, because the world is cruel, so they might as well learn not to expect any nurturing. And we've been carrying that mistaken belief for centuries, over a century. And it really has damaged a lot of people. And you mentioned boys. We have so many emotionally damaged boys because they didn't get enough nurturing and they weren't allowed to express emotions. And so that's why so many of them have this pent up rage. They don't know how to talk it out. They don't know how to show grief. They don't know how to show fear. And so everything just becomes violent. The only thing that we've allowed the boy children to show is anger. So anger becomes the thing that's the go-to for everything. I'm grieving. Let me be angry. I'm sad. Let me be angry. I'm fearful. Let me be angry. My feelings are hurt. Let me be angry. You know, whatever it is. And then anger, violence, that's all acceptable for male behavior. Like you say, toxic masculinity. We do that by not letting our boy children feel the love and the mothering and the nurturing that they need. And when they don't get it, they go after other things that have nothing to do with love, but it's the need that they have to feel loved. And that's what has to change in our thinking so that we can change the way we raise our children. So Barbara, you've raised a son and now you got grandsons and you know all
that's true. I think another thing is the attitude that a parent has toward their child, even at the very youngest. And this is something that has always disturbed me. You'll see a stranger with their child and you'll say something like, "Oh, he's so cute," or "Oh, she is so pretty." And the comment will be, "Oh, he's so bad."
Yes.
"Oh, she's so bad." Like they can't accept something positive said about their child. I honestly don't know where that comes from. But if you start instilling that kind of criticism, that critical response about anything positive, your child will experience a type of insecurity that really cannot be explained. Yes, the world is a cruel place. And yes, they're going to run into meanness and bullingness and other kinds of attitudes and behaviors from people around him. But they don't need to learn the meanness at home. They need to know that there is a place of comfort, of kindness, of security, of stability in the place where they're going to be raised, where they're going to be most of their lives. And I think another strange myth, and this may be getting further down the line beside a baby, is the fact that, oh, you have to eat everything on your plate. You know, so many people, we grew up in the clean plate club where you got told about, all the starving children in other countries. So you better eat everything on your plate. And unfortunately, this has started a whole sense of obesity in our own country where we are forcing kids to eat more than what they are really, they're full, and you're forcing them to eat more. And you learn when a child is a baby that they can regulate themselves. I think a lot of parents may not really pay attention to this too much, but when your child is old enough to eat solids after 6 months or so, and the baby is done eating, and you're trying to get them to get one more bite, you know, and they're full. And you don't need to force a child to eat because when they're hungry, they'll ask for more or cry for more. But this whole thing of you've got to make it all disappear and force feed a child when they're really done eating, that's another one of those myths that the child's going to starve to death if you don't force them to eat past their sense of fullness. And you teach kids to not be able to listen to their own body.
That's exactly right. And then years later, when they're going to Weight Watchers and somebody has to tell them, you eat when you're hungry and you stop when you're full. And you have to ask, they have to ask, how do you know when you're full?
Yeah.
And what they tell you, by the way, is when you sigh. And you will have, and if you pay attention to that one little thing, you will go and you will have a full plate of something, and 3 or 4 bites in, you will sigh. Guess what? You're done. But the thing is that we keep eating because we have been taught from infancy to clean your plate or to keep eating beyond. And I think if everybody actually stopped eating after that sigh, you would see the weight go down. You'd see a whole lot of more people with doggy bags and leftovers, but that's okay because you have to retrain your body. And there's a lot of things that we do, and some of it is really, as Black people, we have got to stop punishing our children for being children. Barbara, when you were saying something about somebody saying, oh, they're so bad, I have told young mothers, and when they say, oh, they're just so bad, and I said, no, he is not being bad. He is curious. He is showing signs of intelligence, and the curiosity is right where he is supposed to be. And yes, when they are 2 and 3 years old and they are getting into everything, you need to limit them to make sure that they are safe and show them some boundaries for safety. But you need to embrace the fact that they are curious about the world around them because their brains are growing. And we can't keep telling our children, just go somewhere and sit down, because we do not need to be raising children who are just placid and they're not little old people that need to just sit down and rest their bones. They are children, and we are constantly worried, and the society does that too. They had a experiment once with all these teachers, and even the Black teachers did this. So they were showing these teachers, there were 4 children. There were 2 Black children, one female, one male. There were 2 white children, 1 female, 1 male. And they were telling these teachers, okay, watch for misbehavior. Actually, the trick was there was no misbehavior in any of the children. They're like 5 years old. And there was no misbehavior in any of the children. And what the experiment actually was is that they were watching what child the teachers were focusing on. All the teachers, including the Black ones, were focusing on the Black boy.
Wow.
So they were all expecting for this Black boy to misbehave. And so and like I said, it was obvious even for the Black teachers to do this. So we have already socialized ourselves to expect our Black boys to misbehave. That is why they're more harshly punished. So we need to, start from the crib. When your little boy cries, you pick your little boy up. Dad, you kiss your little boy. You tell your little boy that you love him. When he falls and he hurts himself, don't tell him, oh, you need to man up and big boys don't cry. You comfort him and say, what's wrong? Because if that was a little girl and you did that, that's the same way you would treat your little boy. And when a child is hurt, you comfort them. When they're hungry, you feed them. When they're done eating, you don't punish them for not cleaning their plate. Make their plate smaller, make their portion smaller, and don't overwhelm them. And these are the things that we need to toss out as a people. As a people, we are. I'm so blown away by Trevor Noah's last show and what he talked about Black women and how he praised Black women and says, that we need to be listening. Well, we need to listen to ourselves. We need to listen to our own instincts and stop having someone else tell us, oh, don't pick that baby up. We already know how we're supposed to nurture our children. Just get out the way. Let us do it, because don't let someone else tell you how to love your child.
Absolutely. The thing that we get stuck on, and you probably have had this happen after you explain to a mother not to say her child's bad, you explain the whole thing. They're just curious, they're showing intelligence, you want to encourage them, give them ways to explore. You say all of this logical stuff, and then they still erase everything you just said. No, they just bad. And you want to take the mother and just take them. It's like, did you hear what I just said? No, they just bad. But you know,
You know what? Because that's what they've heard.
that's
Why
what
you will
they've
get
heard.
that is what they've heard. That's what they've grown up with. When people go on and on about how they were beaten as children and they turned out okay, as if
Like,
trauma is okay, and they will keep on passing on trauma to the next
Right.
generation, and all the other things that they do. That's why you get these horrific cases of people leaving their kids out in the cold to freeze to death. People like forcing their kids into closets and starving them to death and all these other things, because we are convinced that childhood curiosity is a bad thing, that childhood growth is a bad thing, that childhood even when they're boisterous, I mean, a lot of children are over the top and all these other kind of things, and there's ways to redirect, you know, undesirable behavior or behavior that is self-destructive, but telling them that they're bad isn't one of them.
Right.
That's a type of conditioning, I think, that is so harmful. It's very wounding. I just happen to have finished a book with my women's group.
Can't see it. What is it? Can't read that.
It is from You Are Worth the Work by Junie Felix, From Trauma to Faith. And she talks a lot about the trauma in her own life, growing up with a mother that had mental illness. So there was definitely abuse there. And also homelessness and just all around craziness in their household with 7 children. She was the oldest of 7 and was in therapy, can you believe, at the age of 4 because of the wildness, I mean, there are other words to describe it, that happened in her life, but also how the healing process had to take place and is still taking place in their home. And I think that it is so important. I know we talked about this earlier in our show on Black people need therapy. Why won't they get it? The importance of dealing with childhood trauma that comes up in unhealthy ways as an adult. Some of these old lady myths that come up about not spoiling the baby, not picking him up too much. If you do this and that too much, you're going to make your child into an unloving brat. And this is serious old school type thinking. I was at a girls baby shower, and all the moms were all giving all kinds of advice, writing things in the new mom's journals. She hadn't had the baby yet. And I was surprised at a couple of my older friends who said that same thing. And I didn't want to come off and sound convicting, I mean, conflicting, contradictory, but I actually did pull the mother aside privately and say, you know what, don't listen to that. You know, if your baby cries,
your baby is messed up as they are.
You know, you get to a place where you can recognize the different cries and what they mean. But if you are letting your child get to a point where they are now screaming, you are not going to be able to discern what is wrong if you're not prompt in dealing with their needs, checking everything. Sometimes it just means just to hold them. And there's totally nothing wrong with that.
That's fine.
And that's okay too.
You know
the other thing that people have in their minds, the idea of don't let your child get the big head. So that means no, don't praise them. Don't say anything nice about them. Don't say anything complimentary to their face, because then they'll become conceited. Now that's another myth that I don't know how that developed, but that I see that a common thing where if for some reason parents think you're not supposed to say anything nice about a child, you're supposed to keep them humble. Matter of fact, I think I heard someone use that term. Well, you know, you want your children to be humble. And I'm like, how is
we are not, you know what?
Make them humble, and how?
You know what? Because we still want to raise slaves. We're still trying to raise our children to either, be a good slave to massa or to stay under the radar so we're not sold or down the river. We need to stop raising our children to be enslaved people. We have not been enslaved people for several generations now. We need to stop trying to make our children slaves and then wondering why we have the mental health issues in our community that we do. I have a short quick story. I think I may have told this before. When Dr. Ann, who was one of our guests, she was my pediatrician, my daughter's pediatrician, and Sarah had lost a lot of weight when she left the hospital. She was a little jaundiced, so I had to keep waking her up to make sure that she ate a lot. I even made up a song, I'll spare you. And and when I brought her back for her checkup, she said, "Do you carry this baby a lot?" And I said, "Yeah, is there anything wrong with that?" She says, "No." She said, "But her head is perfectly round." Because I never let her cry, like let her lay down and cry, ever. I mean, I waited a long time for my baby. I waited a long time to have my baby. And when and I had 6 months off before I even had to go back to work. So every time she cried, I didn't do nothing, but I made sure that
I'm in the bathroom. I'm coming.
I know. It was like, I think I let her cry. She cried for 7 minutes because I had to feed myself, feed the dog, and get the dog in out of the rain. And I cried for a half hour because I let her cry for 7 minutes. So, and that's the thing. And that was like one of the guiltiest things I still feel. And she was like 3 weeks old, and that was it. But I will never, ever have this happen to you again. And I never did. She's 23. If she starts crying now, I'm going to pick her up. So that's the thing.
Well, people don't realize when a baby is crying, they're not just hungry, they're actually starving.
Yes,
and
because
it's hard
they
to
eat every
accept
2
that
hours.
concept. I think more people should be willing to do, I did have 3 kids, but I'm telling you, I read a lot of books, a lot of parenting magazines, a lot of parenting advice columns, and it was helpful to get the opinions of other materials besides moms who are the same age as you and don't know much more than you do. It is good to be able to learn how to discern what is sensible, what is practical, what is the most nurturing thing, because sometimes people, they're only going by what they were taught, how they were trained, and they pass that on to you. Just like someone saying, "Oh, the baby will sleep better if you put some cereal in their bottle." Well, yeah, they might, but babies aren't supposed to be having smoothies. This will teach the child not to be able to use their muscles in suckling and in drinking. And now you're introducing food into their bodies at too early an age,
system is ready.
Cause allergies.
Constipation.
It causes constipation. It causes our food allergies. In fact, Dr. Ann has said that that's why a lot of children get, especially Black children, get asthma at too early an age. Is them people introducing cereal like 4 months old, and all of a sudden they want to start putting them on rice cereal and putting it into their formula. I actually had a mother, and she was her daughter was exactly a month younger than Sarah. And she was an older mom too. And she was doing that. And I didn't want to say, you shouldn't do that. But I said, talk to your pediatrician about that. And so when she did, she says, okay, my pediatrician said not to do that. But I didn't want to get on her case because what I knew, because like Barbara, you said, I was a new mom too. But there's things like that we will, that we do know, but then people kind of dismiss it because you're learning too. So you just say, you know what, talk to your doctor about this. But I'm not sure that that's a really, if you want to just have them do that just so they'll sleep better. And that was the whole thing, is that, you do this and you introduce this stuff so they'll sleep better because they're fuller. Kids are going to eat. They're hungry every 2 hours. Be ready to feed them. Don't try to feed them on your schedule. How would you like it if somebody says, you can only eat every 4 hours.
I eat.
and that's it. and you're starving because you just worked out and you did all this other kind of stuff. No, you can't have anything to eat or drink until those 4 hours are done. You know, you'll be so hangry by that time that you're ready to tear somebody's
And
head
you
off.
don't want a candy bar either. You want food.
You want food.
Yeah, you don't
So,
want
you know,
transportation.
so listen to yourself and listen to your baby, because, you know, and keep that relationship. Don't let anybody try to keep you from loving your child too much. And that's one of the things that we need to stop doing.
Don't let anybody keep you from loving your child too much. Well, we have to go, but definitely talk to your pediatrician and make sure that you don't follow any of these. Just follow the golden rule. Treat others as you wish to be treated. If you don't want to be made to, if you're you know, sitting in urine or something, would you want somebody to just let you sit there for hours, you know, because you're crying, and they'll just let them cry it out? Wouldn't you want somebody to like see that this is what it is, or whatever it is? If you got a pen sticking in you, whatever it is, wouldn't you want somebody to just tend to you if you were crying, whatever it was? So don't do that to your child. And you know, that's I think that's the basic thing. Treat your child the way you would want to be treated. Act like
Or
you
treat
care
them
about
even better than you want to be treated.
Yes,
Yeah.
because you know
You
what?
can say something they can't.
Because that baby is a gift. That
Yeah.
baby is a gift.
That baby
And
is a gift.
It is
And-
hope that you brought that baby into the world and you wanted that baby. So
Yeah.
treat your child, from infant to all the way up when they're grown kids still coming in and out your house, or maybe they've moved away, but you treat them like the precious being that they are.
Absolutely. And one last quick thing. Don't be so quick to wean them. You know, that was another myth.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the bonding that happens between mother and child is the breastfeeding phase, and we had doctors trying to sell formula for generations, and now we're realizing that was not the healthiest thing, you know, emotionally or even health wise. So
For either of you.
for either of you. So sometimes the old fashioned ways are better. I carried my child around in a pouch like they used to say. Ain't that primitive? No, that actually aided her mental health. She was a calm child. She wasn't a crier. She was much more alert because she could hear me speak. So all the different things, her development was, you know, quick development, alert and calm, because I carried her and know she was not spoiled. So anyway, we've got to go. But make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, 3 Black Moms, and follow us on Facebook, 3 Black Moms. And feel free to write in some of the old myths that maybe you followed that you wish you hadn't, now that you know better.
Yeah.
Let us know. Anyway, until next time, I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Barbara. Treat your babies well, and Merry Christmas. Bye. Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're 3 Black Moms.